This is my second time recording this. So I was going to talk about these two books-ish, kind of. I'll start with the fact that one day everyone will have been against us was about how we can call the Israeli-Palestinian genocide a conflict, and how, we've kind of ignored capitalism's role in all the genocide that does take place. Our ability to scientifically and organizationally devalue devalue the black body, but also nationality, groups of people, places, structures, right? All to, develop and generate wealth. And this book has a couple quotes that I'm gonna share. In the first video, I talked about these quotes, but you know what? I'm gonna just give it to you. Their children are never just their children, okay? The precondition of existence within a system whose currency of justification is fear, and it is a currency, the exchange rate is very real. It isn't the rationality or the evidence of the fear that matters, but rather its purchasing power. My fear on account of who I am and what place I occupy in the West buys me nothing, and yet I know other people's fear as rational as mine, more irrational than mine, buys everything. It moves armies, obliterates thousands. As with rage, there is an invisible force to fear, a gravity. I can no more push my fear upward into another echelon of privilege than those around me above me can help but let theirs fall, a terrible force, onto the lives of those below. There was a quote within there that was talking about the way that comparing entire groups of people to insects is a tactic of some of the most murderous regimes in history that have used that to justify the liquidation of millions, in terminology called reverse anthropomorphism. Next quote: terrorism as a societal designation of exclusivity to brown people. So when white folk kill dozens of people in a church or school or mall, it is only a crime, maybe a hate crime, but never terrorism. Terrorism requires a distance between state and perpetrator wide enough to fit a different kind of fear, the kind of fear that justifies the creation of entire new laws, new modes of detention, new apparatuses of surveillance, anything at all. Maybe the real fear is that one might find that what drives and absolves the state of so much evil isn't the fear that not doing so will allow some terrorists to destroy the fabric of free society, but rather that the evil itself is necessary to the system it protects. Another quote that I like: it is not over any more than it began. The way that white people get to be asked what radicalized you. Another quote: colonialism demands history affords fear as the exclusive property of only one people, white people. Okay. Another quote I really liked was crying. It feels like more an immune response, something in the body when faced with disease. It just does. Okay. Power absent ethics rests on an unshakable ability and desire to punish active resistance, to beat and arrest and try to ruin the lives of protesters. But this power has no idea what to do against negative resistance, those who refuse or who walks away. Negation, the power of turning away, is a dangerous thing, and the narrative changes wildly depending on who's doing it. A system that can only ever say, there is nothing better than this. Cultural organizations are reckoning with penultimate or money and ultimate or participation consequences. And you're seeing that especially now. I'm like interjecting my thoughts with these quotes as I rapid fire. Hypocrisy of always something bad. I think we talk about certain things and we get to the responses. There's always something bad in the world. And one quote that the book has is the purpose of those kind of conversations is never moral concern. To be accused of speaking too loudly about one injustice but not others by someone who doesn't care about any of them is to be told simply to keep quiet. Negative resistance becomes then the one thing that truly terrifies an ordering of endless appetite. The machine swallows life and spits out convenience. What's left to manufacture convenience once we respect the rights of humans? Employing negation as a political tactic, punishing students involved in protests, exercising institutional neutrality. I think the book didn't say exercising institutional neutrality, but that's what I thought of when we start thinking that, like, we start using negation or refusal to be a part of this as a political tactic for universities. And you see them. Everybody's trying to be like, we don't agree with these students and we're willing to send them back home or send them away from here as long as they're not a part of us. And yeah, walking away is seen as walking away from, never a walking away toward, never that there might exist another destination. It does more than anything the system was ever prepared to offer. An unheard reckoning in the winter of life between the one who said nothing, did nothing, and their own soul, and there will be no words exchanged then, only a knowing. It won't just be Gaza on fire, but the whole world. Active and negative resistance both matter. Showing up and refusing to both matter. Working the outside and inside to negate the normalization of genocide. The one question of the book was, what are you willing to give up to alleviate someone else's suffering? And I thought that was important. And one thing that it reminded me of was community, but the way it's been commercialized and politicized and repoliticized. And I feel like sometimes when we're talking about community, I don't feel like we all talking about the same community, if that makes sense. It's kind of like how when people say we're family, and you get it. Cynicism. This is a quote. Cynicism. How can you hope for anything to change if you won't participate in the work of changing it? How can you have any moral standing if you're susceptible to abandoning hope? Another quote. The system predicated on endless feeding is unable to imagine anything outside of itself, let alone forms of resistance to itself. Since all benefits are individualistic, it's impossible to imagine those who'd walk away from it. You kind of see that. You see that with capitalism. I think people think it's wild that you're not trying to make money and dance for the man. You know? Anyway, whatever. But that also reminds me, this other book I wanted to quote, she was talking about how, like, a lot of people have forgot the spirit of things, which I think this quote gets at, and then I'll get back to that other book. But this book, One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against This, continuing with all the quotes I did, the delusion at the heart of capitalism, the sense and prospect of infinite innovation and efficiency to foster infinite growth. We've normalized great magnitudes of loneliness and theft only to produce a sputtering algorithm badly trained on the stolen work of real people. the industry is starting to depend on the tolerance for calamity and violence. We're asking people to normalize not just unlimited extraction and suffering, but total absence. Cease to believe folks as people like you have needs like you, that scarcity isn't real and we can all thrive and not just survive. So I was saying earlier that I was reminded of a quote from a book called The Spirit of Intimacy, which I had also wanted to mention, and she really just discussed how people forget that there's spirit behind the things that they're pursuing and the relationships they're interested in and the purpose that they have on earth being beyond the money and the job and the title and the things. And she was talking about, for example, with money, it really was developed to have engaged in ritual, to have engaged in spiritual practices, whether that was tithing or something to give back to the creator that gave to you. And now a lot of people forgot that. I was talking in the video before, there was someone who was saying, like, I'd still get a Tesla, but the trunk's too big. They had said that to somebody who told me, and they had said back to that person, like, well, how could you say that, like, with everything going on? And their response was, there's always going to be something bad about somebody if you look deep enough. And it's just like, there's always a choice in that which we spend money on, but also what we pay attention to spiritually behind what we're spending money on and material wise. And I think that's why I don't think I have a lot of friends that still shop at like fast fashion stuff, and like, especially if you can't get the bigger picture, like, because my thing is like, oh, of course, like, oh, it's easier and it's cheaper, and someone's gonna buy it, or maybe someone needs it, you know, like, oh, what if someone needs to get dressed for work like this? Like, the reality is a lot of people still just go to work in leggings and a workout shirt. Exhibit A. So it's not, we don't need to justify that anymore. You don't have to justify it. Knock it off. And I think a lot of people, they're just willing to still justify and not understand the spirit of things behind certain things. Some people are ignoring it too. Let's be honest, for real. And I think I just like that book because her strong point throughout the book was romance and marriage, and people forgetting the spiritedness of those bonds and relations. Because everybody wants to get divorced now, and well, not divorced, but if something doesn't work out, we want to cut people off and break things up. And the thing is, in some capacity, even one of the books I'm reading now is like, yes, I get that, because it's like I'm reading How to Kill Yourself and Others in America, and his strong point in his introduction was the fact that some people hold on to relationships that aren't serving them, or they're not serving people within those relationships. They're serving ideas and just allowing themselves to be malaligned with certain things, like everybody isn't for everybody kind of thing. I think that's what he's trying to point at, but also like to very much be serving those who you are for. Hopefully that makes sense. I talked about a lot, but I guess just circling back to the fact that there's a spirit behind certain things, and to acknowledge that. And acknowledge isn't the same as making sense of it. I feel like you don't need to make sense of everything in order to get it. Anyway, and so hopefully with these quotes and stuff, you can just get it without me having to explain every one of them like I did in the first video. That had no sound. Bro, I think if anything, if I could like talk about anything that I talked about before, it'd probably be this quote. Let me pull it up. This quote said, "Their children are not just their children," and it's a quote by Kahlil Gibran. That's where the author got this kind of concept from, is what someone was pointing out. But your children are not your children. They are sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you, and though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children or living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the make upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he also loves the bow that is stable. That's all I have. So, peace.